Live from the 22 News Broadcast Center, your local election headquarters. This is a Springfield Mayoral Forum. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Good afternoon, I'm Rich Teddemer, and welcome to your special local election headquarters presentation. Election Day now just 2 weeks away, and today through Friday we'll be hosting a series of debates with candidates running for mayor in local cities. And today we're hosting a candidates forum with Springfield mayoral candidate Yolanda Cancel. Yolanda, thanks for joining us. She'll be answering questions about the issues facing the city. Her opponent, Mayor Dominic Sarno, declined our invitation to debate. But Ms. Cancel, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much. And right now you have time to make an opening statement.
Thank you. Hi, viewers. Thank you, wwlp, to welcome me here to your station. I am Yolanda Cancel. I am the mayor candidate running for Springfield mayor, and I am asking for your vote November 5th. I hope that you will enjoy any question and if you have any other questions that you would like to ask, please hit me up on any of my social media or www.yolandacancel.com, and you could inbox me any of your questions if you feel that one of your interests hasn't got answered fully, and I am more than helpful to answer it. And thank you for having me.
Okay, now as I mentioned a moment ago, Mayor Sarno has declined our invitation to participate in today's debate. His campaign chair sent us an email saying that the mayor won't be participating due to time constraints. He wrote, quote, "The mayor is devoting all of his time to working on several critical issues facing the city of Springfield, along with a personal family situation." So, Ms. Cancel, you and I can sit here and talk talk about the issues and why you're running for mayor of Springfield. Let's start with that. Why are you running for mayor of Springfield?
Well, at first, I decided to run for mayor when my son had gotten shot.
How long ago was this?
Now, that was in May, at the end of May. He was shot. He is alive. He's well. And I am thankful. And that's what prompted me to put my head into the race as mayor, and the reason why I chose mayor and not city council was because in Springfield, you know, it's a strong mayor, weak council. And if we really want to make some serious changes in the city of Springfield, we need to start from the top. But as the campaign has gone on, and because I'm a community activist and a community leader, I realized that I've already been prepped to want to run for this office. I just didn't think about it. It was just my son was like that line of like that first line of saying, you know what, you need to do this. And I wasn't interested in running for politics or putting my head into the race. But I figure if nobody else is going to do this, then somebody has to do it, because I have 7 grandchildren who live in the city of Springfield, and we have to make a change. And that was my choice, and just everything throughout the life of everything that I've been doing and activating in the Springfield community. It just lets me realize that this is something that needs to be done.
You can understand a mother's reaction and perspective to what you've gone through, which basically, let's go right to the question. How do we make the city of Springfield safer? Mayor Sarno would say, if he was here right now, he would say that the city is safer now than it was years ago. How does the city get safer under your mayorship?
Well, you know, there's an uptick in gun violence across the nation, including Springfield. We see it even just recently in the North End. Someone's child, the same age as my son, 24 years old, didn't survive. And I read that, and I was listening to the news this morning. 24-year-old male, gunshot wound, driven to the hospital, he is dead. That could have been my son. And when you're reading it, you're saying they have 2 arrest victims, but you could hear the story. You know, both these individuals had firearms. They all had firearms. And so it's like, you know, you see it, self-defense and things like that. So what we need to do is figure out what is it that we're going to do to get these guns, these illegal guns, off the street. And my goal is, and I had a great conversation with these group called Moms Demand Action. And I've never heard of them before until recently. And then when I showed up to one of their meetings and what the things that they're doing, And then I brought up the fact that I would love to pilot a program that we do a year buyback program. And the year buyback program, I know Springfield had used to do it where it was just like one time that they would, no questions asked, you bring the firearm in with no questions asked, and you get like a $50 gift certificate for whatever. And I'm thinking this might be a tool that we could use year round, a little bit more than $50. And once that firearm comes in, then once that firearm is checked or whatever to make sure that there's no crime attached to this firearm, that you melt that firearm and you eliminate it off the street. Because come to find out that the firearm that shot my son was stolen in Westfield in 2014, and it was found by an underage teenager. So to me that says 2014, we're in 2019, now it's in the hand of an under 18-year-old child. There's a problem. That means how long has that gun just been circulating and circulating? And that's the problem that we're having in the city of Springfield. And we have to do something about that. And we have to be more proactive. And not only that, we need to start educating all ages on gun safety training. We have to do that because we have to be more proactive. We can't just say, well, we don't want nothing to do with guns. Let's just eliminate all guns. It's not going to happen right away. And it might not happen at all. So what are we going to do in society, in the city of Springfield? How are we going to be more proactive? And this is the way we're going to do that.
Okay, and it should be noted that the gentleman who was killed and the two suspects who were arrested were actually shooting at the person who shot at the victim.
Right.
That person has not been caught yet, so.
Right, and so that you see that you have two of these individuals, and actually it seemed like more of a self-defense than anything, but there's still illegal firearms out on the street, and it happened at 2:30. These are the times that middle schoolers get out of school. This is the time that high schoolers get out of school. That's scary because anybody, a bullet doesn't have an aim. That could have killed anybody, and then including my wife's friend actually lives in that house, and her children are coming home on that day. And so that's actually really scary that, you know, you're like, these are my kids, they're coming home. They can't choose where to live and not to live. And, you know, we have to do something, we have to be more aggressive on our approach.
Now you have personally clashed with Mayor Sarno over the business you manage, Club Aquarius, which the mayor wanted shut down following a stabbing near the nightclub. Now as mayor, how would you balance public safety concerns with the interests of bar owners in the city?
Well, I think that the biggest thing, the only thing I could agree with Mayor Sarno is to say, hey, did a club do what they need to do to make sure? But first, you want to make sure that that's what you're doing is as mayor, and if you hire somebody to make sure that this individual is going to each of the club establishments to make sure that they did everything safety-wise inside their club. But as, you know, assistant manager, I realized that, as we can't go check somebody's car. We can't take them home. You know, we can't drive them home. This is not a daycare. This is an adult nighttime establishment. Once the owner has done everything that they possibly can do, the blame falls on the individual. So under my leadership, what will happen is that if anybody violates to go into a club, and if they get arrested or get in trouble, then to definitely revitalize the E3 that he first started, but it's not working because nobody attends those meetings. It's to redo that meeting again, bring all the nightclub owners to be on one page, and if this individual acts up in one club, then they're not allowed in any club for the first 3 months. They will be banned. Then the second offense is 6 months, and we'll go from there until they're permanently banned. That means that they will not be able to attend. And I think that if we do it like that, if you're too immature to attend the nighttime establishment to make sure that you're coming there to have a good time and to be safe, then you need to do that. But it's not club hopping. You're not going to go to one club, act up there, get kicked out, and then go to another club. And no. We're not going to do that. If you act up in one club, you're banned from all clubs for that remaining of the time. And that's my goal.
It's not an easy issue, is it? I
No.
mean, it's a very complicated issue.
It is a complicated issue. And I think bar owners would definitely be more apt, because nobody wants to shut down their club and to move away, like Murphy's or any of those, like he shuts down and I'm done. But losing small business owners, that's a damage to our city. I don't want to see any small business owners feeling like they have to close down because now they have over-policing happening because the mayor just wants to just over-police it. That's not the answer either. We have to look out for our small businesses as well as we're looking out for public safety issues.
That brings me to my next question, which is a lot of effort has been made to bring more economic development to Springfield's downtown, but at times with concerns that's not enough to be done in other neighborhoods as well besides downtown. As mayor, what would you do, what would your strategy be to revitalize downtown, and how would you balance that with making improvements in other areas of the city?
Well, the great thing about, downtown getting revitalized is that it is sort of looking more nicer. But the bad thing is that small businesses are shutting down because they can't afford it. We have to be okay with revitalizing without kicking out the people that are actually wanting to make the money in our city. We have to make sure that we are taking care of families, because if we just focus on downtown and not focusing on families up on the hill, what's going to happen is that, like anything, crap runs downhill. We have to make sure that our families are taken care of, that we have better parks. For instance, if you not realize that, we need bike parks, non-motorized wheel parks, make sure that, our kids who are enjoying a healthy and safer and not being on social media and not being on that we're filling up these parks, that we're making sure that every park looks the same, that we start having workout facilities out there and things. We want to make sure that our families are enjoying up on the hill and away from downtown as much as we are trying to make sure that downtown is nice enough for our tourists, because that's what it's mostly about. But we have to make sure that our families are taken care of. Our residents should definitely come first. The taxpayers, voters, all of that, our families, students, children's, they should come first. And that's, I wear my bike sock to make sure that we provide healthy environments and different things like that. And I want to do more when it comes to that, because an empty park is a dangerous park.
Mayor Sarno and the City Council have been at odds in the past few years over whether the city should have a civil service chief and a civilian police commissioner, or whether the city should maintain its current commissioner position. It's a civilian police commission, by the way. Which model would you like to see for the police department's administration, and why?
Well, under this mayor, I would want to see the police commissioner, because you're asking, if you don't entrust in him right now to make a decision, why would you want him to have 5 decisions instead of 1? But underneath my administration, I would like to see a board to make a decision on an officer's life, because that's what we're doing. It's a career, it's not just a job. And we are making a decision on this person's life to either be suspended or fired. And that is a tough decision that we have to make. So I want to make sure that when we hire a police commission, and that would be under my administration, I would definitely hire about 5 to make that decision.
So you'd prefer to have the board as opposed to one person?
Yes.
Right now, police commissioner Cheryl
Under
Clapton.
mine, yes.
Okay.
Well, I would still want to keep her. I would definitely still keep her on. I wouldn't want to lose her at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we've reached time to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more questions and answers with Yolanda Cancel, candidate for mayor of Springfield. You're watching 22 News. Welcome back. This special Your Election Headquarters presentation. Today in our studio, we're asking questions of Yolanda Cancel, who's running for mayor of Springfield. Her opponent, incumbent Mayor Dominic Sarno, declined our invitation to debate today, but Yolanda's here to answer our questions, and we continue. Let's talk about a story that's in the news right now, and that is facial recognition technology. Springfield Police about to be equipped with body cameras, but City Councilor Orlando Ramos has proposed a ban on using facial recognition software, citing privacy issues and worries about the accuracy. Mayor Sarno says he doesn't want a ban, saying that it could help keep violent criminals off the street. Where do you feel, how do you stand on this, on facial recognition technology with the police body cameras?
Well, let me start with Mayor Sarno didn't want the cameras in the first place. Orlando Ramos, and I was on one of his boards or one of the committees that he put together, and it was a bunch of us on there, and then we visited each of the wards to ask residents what they felt. And so with that, the body cameras was something that was brought up as to saying, well, how are we going to end or be able to make the community safer and feel like, okay, they know because of police brutality that, you know, they could be protected as well, and to ensure some trust between community and police. So let me just start there. The body cameras are now and I thank Orlando Ramos for fighting for body cameras against what Sarno wanted in the first place. But facial recognition, that's a serious matter, because if you're going to arrest somebody or for just facial recognition and that's not the right person, that you just put somebody through a whole world of damage. And especially if you're, and the biggest problem that we have in the city of Springfield is when somebody gets arrested, that you put their face up on their Springfield page. It's like you're already like saying that they're already a criminal before they even go to court. So what if that does that in the facial recognition? They're saying, hey, we caught the person, here goes there, now they're on the Facebook page, now their entire families and friends are looking at this, they haven't even got to court, and then find out that this person was innocent right from the beginning. That is dangerous, because that's dangerous for the person's life, and that's dangerous in another lawsuit that's cost us taxpayers money from the city of Springfield. So I don't want to do that. So Mayor Sarno has to think about it, and the city of Springfield has to think about it, and me, running for mayor, have to think about, I don't want to be put on another lawsuit and spend money on another lawsuit through the police department because of this. So we do need to make sure that we are the facial recognition, and it's probably not going to be okay until a few years from now. But for now, I agree with the ban.
So police cameras, okay, body cameras, okay, facial recognition technology, not okay.
Not okay.
Okay. Now, state lawmakers have been discussing another issue that's in the news right now, the possibility of so-called safe injection sites, which would allow drug users to inject illegal drugs under medical supervision. If these were permitted in Massachusetts, would you welcome such a site in Springfield?
Yes. One thing that we have to do as a society is to end stigma, the stigma of it. Drug addiction is a serious problem worldwide, and including especially Springfield. We are far behind from other cities that are doing a proactive approach on drug addiction. One, we don't even have any intake or for somebody to come in off the street and says, hey, I want to get rehabbed, unless you're Section 35, which you'd get locked up just because you have a drug addiction, which is something that we need to fight. So I totally agree that safety is one of the best things that we need to do for our city. And safe injection sites, yes, because you're doing it under a physician, which it should be.
That goes hand in hand with this one as well. The mayor has criticized the opening of a methadone clinic in the South End. Do you think this is an appropriate place for a clinic, and do you think the city needs to do more like these kind of treatment centers, or is there another way?
There is definitely another way. The problem with the methadone clinic is that, yes, it takes you off of street drugs, and then here you go walking into the methadone clinics every morning and you're getting your dose, and then you go home from there. But you're doing that almost for the rest of your life. There's only a 16% turnaround from getting off of methadone. That's not a cure whatsoever. But if we have a 24-hour intake and a 9-month treatment, that's giving somebody their life back. That's saying, I am human, I have a problem, because you can't just say that every person with a drug addiction is somebody from the street. Because we have, with the drug opioid problem, when it comes to oxys or prescription drug medications or big pharma or any of those things, The problem is that a police officer also can become drug addicted. If he got hurt on the job and you put him on oxys and he's on it for a while, and then you take him off without rehabbing him correctly, then you have an officer who also just has a drug addiction right now. And that is the worst feeling in the world, to have to go out in the street. You are the law, but now you're suffering from something that they didn't wean you off of correctly. As society, we're doing it all wrong. We have to find a different method. The Methadone Clinic is not the right answer, because it's not helping anybody. But a treatment center, a real treatment center, where it allows somebody to come in and then stay in there for 9 months or so, now that's the right way to do it.
You had alluded to this at the beginning, in that you had said downtown Springfield is looking a lot better. This is the first mayoral election that's happened since the opening of MGM Springfield. What kind of impact do you think MGM has had on the city so far, and what kind of relationship would you like to develop with MGM if you were mayor?
I think what MGM did for us was open up the city. I moved here in 2005, and I've never seen a city shut down so much at 5 o'clock. It was like no stores open. You're walking downtown. It was just like, what happened to everybody? Where's everybody going? Why is there's no stores past 5 o'clock? And I think that's what MGM did, was actually give other businesses this thing like, oh, let me stay open a little later. And we're starting to see a nightlife in the city of Springfield. And I would like to have a definite relationship with MGM, because I want them to be able to be the jobs that people are doing. But I want to figure out how we could have something that's more all ages, not just 21 with MGM, you know, bringing in more things for families, because I know that now they got the Symphony Hall or City Stage, and I want them to start doing more with just not so much focus on gambling, but entertainment lifestyle as well. And I would love to have that relationship. But not only that, I would definitely love to have a conversation with MGM and figuring out how we can have a tax relief for our homeowners, like the money that comes in. Because even though the taxes didn't go up, the property value did go up. So because property values are going up, so isn't the money that they have to pay towards their taxes are going up. And that's where residents are not understanding. So when I'm knocking on the doors, I hear that. They're like, oh, my taxes are going up. And the city council's like, your taxes didn't go up, but the property value did go up. So people are not understanding that kind of it is going up because of the property value. So what could we do to relieve that? And I would love to work with MGM a lot more on that.
Okay, if you're elected mayor, you would become the chair of the Springfield School Committee. What are some of your ideas to improve public schools in Springfield?
Well, definitely we need a lot of improvements. And, you know, we need to think about building our students into becoming leaders, into leading this nation. And I don't feel like we're doing that right now. We are so stuck in this traditional way of education, and we have to move past that. We want to make it, I want to make sure that we're bringing on and mirror something that I've seen that Greenfield and Turner's Fall has, which is an online course, which is like a home-based course. So if we have somebody who's a teen parent, or somebody who has behavior problems, or somebody on the spectrum, or being bullied and they want to go to school that day, or didn't want to go to school at all, but guess what? They still can attend school by being at home safely where they want to be, and still be able to learn, still being able to educate, and still be able to graduate. And that's what we need to do, and I want to bring that in. I also want to make sure that we are bringing in entrepreneurship into our schools, especially high schools. I want to bring in more training programs and allowing companies to go into the school instead of having kids to have to go to job fairs. Bring it to them, like almost like when you go to college and that, you know, and they're vetting high school, you know, your college students. Well, we have high school students here, and our high schools have to also look differently. When you walk into it, it kind of looks like a jail. It looks boring. You got this gray colors. There's no fun to want to go in there. Well, we have 5 colleges. Why aren't, you know, SciTech and Commerce and these schools having banners, right? Because we know that if you start seeing that you want college or differences in businesses and things like that, let's change and make it more fun. Make them want to come in and want to learn.
Yolanda, it's hard to believe you were nervous at the start of this.
Yes.
You didn't seem nervous at all. You're very good. Thanks for
you.
joining us. We appreciate it. Election Day
you.
just in 2 weeks now. And that'll do it for today's Your Local Election Headquarters presentation. Thanks to Yolanda Cancel
Thank you.
for participating in this afternoon's program. If you missed any of it, it will be available in its entirety on our website at wwlp.com. Tomorrow, our series of debates continues with the candidates running for mayor of Chicopee. And on Wednesday, it's Greenfield's mayoral candidates. And then Friday, we have the candidates running for mayor in Westfield. Be sure to join us. I'm Rich Teddemer. Have a good afternoon. See ya.